Hello from the South Beach at Ardrossan, where I'm just about to walk to Ardrossan South Beach Station to catch a train to Ardrossan Harbour to see what's going on with the ferries to Arran, which have been a bit of a national scandal, shall we say, for a few years. Yeah, I like to park here on the lawns because I've just been for a swim in the sea. The water was surprisingly warm for the end of April. It's a few minutes walk from the South Beach here to South Beach Station, past what used to be the Caledonian Hotel. So enjoy the scenery of Ardrossan, and I'll just show you a picture of the new cafe, the Hub on the Prom, which opened last year. It's really nice. Slight distraction because the building behind me used to be the Caledonian Hotel, where I stayed with my parents on a holiday once, but it's now flats, and one of the flats is for sale. So I distracted myself by asking the guy taking measurements whether it was the whole building or a flat that's for sale. Sorry about that distraction. Anyway, if I turn the camera around, behind that man in red t-shirt is South Beach Station. And here we are now approaching South Beach Station, where I used to go train spotting when I was 4 years old. The reason I'm going to Ardrossan Harbour is because there are currently no ferries from there to Arran because of years of incompetence by a number of agencies. The ferry service to Arran isn't operating from here, it's operating from Troon with the new ship, the Glen Sannox. And the Glen Sannox is a bigger ship because they wanted more capacity. But the bigger ship doesn't fit in Ardrossan Harbour. So the consequence of that is that it's sailing to and from Troon. The sailing time to and from Troon is 1¼ hours compared to 50 minutes from Ardrossan. This means that the ship, although it carries more people, does fewer journeys per day. So the daily capacity of the route has been reduced because they have a bigger ship, if that makes sense. It should do, because it's simple arithmetic. And it pains me to say all this because I've lived in Scotland for nearly 40 years, working, paying taxes, voting for whoever I feel like, and it's a national humiliation, the state in which our ferries, as a seafaring nation, have fallen into at the hands of incompetent administrators. At the moment, the Scottish Government's current solution to the problem is they're contemplating nationalising of Ardrossan Harbour. Whether that will make anything better, I don't know. Only time will tell. Here's the train to Ardrossan Harbour. I'm expecting it to be empty.
This is Ardrossan South Beach. This train is for Ardrossan Harbour.
So it is.
The next stop is Ardrossan Town.
Well, this is Ardrossan Town, and that was amazing because there were two girls with rucksacks on the train, and I asked them if they were going to Arran, and they asked me why, and I said, well, because there's no ferries to Arran. And they said, oh, why not? And they live in Scotland, but they never look at the news, so they had no idea about all that's been happening with the ferries for the last however long. Now I have a national rail card which gives me a third off, and I have a Scottish bus pass which also gives me discounts in Ayrshire, and I'm not sure which ticket is going to be cheaper, and you can only buy bus pass concession tickets from the conductor or from a ticket office. Well, the station is next to a boatyard, which is quite handy. We'll get the announcement in a minute telling us we're at Ardrossan Harbour.
This is Ardrossan.
Well, I do seem to be the only passenger alighting at Ardrossan Harbour. No, there's somebody who needs ramping off, I think, if I can use that word. So here we are. I'm leaving the train, going down onto what used to be called Winton Pier. It was built by the Glasgow and South Western Railway, and opposite over there is Montgomery Pier, which was built by the competing Caledonian Railway. I'm a bit of a Cali fan, but there we go. Well, that's good timing. Well, they're moving a boat across the railway station exit just as a train arrives, which is not very good planning, but rich people don't usually care about other people. So we have a few signs telling us that the quay is unstable. And this is the ticket office. I don't know if it's open. There seem to be lights on. I'm going to go in and see what happens if there's anybody there to ask. She was very helpful, I have to say. And they're hoping the Caledonian Isles will be back at the beginning of June, and the Caledonian Isles will be sailing to and from Ardrossan, whereas the Glen Sannocks will continue to sail to and from Troon because it's too big to fit in Ardrossan Harbour, which does look a little bit decrepit, one has to say. There's some picnic tables to go and sit on them and have a drink, I think. Now, she said they hope the Caledonian Isles will be back at the end of May to start service in June, but bearing in mind that everything connected with ferries seems to overrun and run late. Only time will tell, that's all I'll say. And there's the gangplank, hopefully waiting for the next sailing, and the lighthouse over there, which I like. The harbour is a little bit old and ramshackle. Been heading that way for years. It's not just day trippers and holidaymakers that are inconvenienced by this, but a lot of people who live on Arran have a dentist in Ardrossan, or even a doctor. There are doctors on Arran, but for specialist treatment you need to come to Ardrossan or the big hospital in Kilmarnock. Now, Montgomery Pier over there, built by the Cali, now has flats built on it. My suspicion is that the current owners of Winton Pier sit in their offices looking across at Montgomery Pier, thinking if we didn't have ferries sailing to and from Winton Pier, we could probably build flats on it and make lots of money. So that's the deep suspicion I have about all this, that CalMac will eventually be booted out of Ardrossan Harbour because of the more lucrative business of building flats on it. But I might be wrong. I have no evidence to support my suspicion, although the site of Ardrossan Harbour clearly has development potential.
Kilwinning, Dalry, Glencarnock, Lochwinnock, Howwood, Milliken Park, Johnston, Paisley Gilmore Street, and Glasgow Central. The next stop is
Ardrossan Town.
Please mind the gap when alighting from this train.
Just want to take a picture of that. Well, there's a few more got on at Ardrossan Town, so the next stop is the South Beach.
Please mind the gap when alighting from this train.
Those are the lines from Largs and Hunterston. And there she blows. Some girls are very shy and some girls wave. And here's a very quick resume. The Glen Sannocks, the new ferry for the Ardrossan route, was delivered 6 years too late. The ferry is too big to fit into Ardrossan Harbour, which is why it's running from Troon. Ardrossan Harbour is owned by Peel Ports. The Ardrossan Harbour seems to be quite run down and dilapidated. They've known for 6 years that the ferry was probably going to be too big for the port, but nothing has been done to deal with that. The Scottish Government have said that they might consider nationalising the harbour. I don't know what difference that would make, but the Scottish Government have done nothing to encourage or to finance Peel Ports to do any improvements, either directly or through their agencies, Transport Scotland, CMAL or Caledonian Maritime, which is owned by the Scottish Government. So there's been a collective conspiracy to do nothing for 6 years, which is why the expensive ferry, which was delivered 6 years late and overpriced, is running from Troon. So we'll wait to see what happens. And if you've enjoyed the film and would like to reward me with a coffee, please see the link here to Ko-fi. Thank you. And I'd like to thank all my donors who are shown here on this slide. Thank you very much. And here's a very quick resume.
The next train at platform 1 will be the 11.